The Detroit Tigers take another series, this time in Minnesota. Let's talk about that and more all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Monday, April 14th, 2025. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. Welcome in, everyone. Happy Monday. Hope you all had a fantastic weekend. The Detroit Tigers may have just added to that fantastic weekend, taking 2 of 3 from a division rival on the road. Always a great weekend. Couldn't finish off the sweep. They do drop Sunday's game by a score of 5-1, but we will gladly take a series victory over the Minnesota Twins. A 7-6 victory on Friday, a 4-0 victory on Saturday. They have now won every single series since being swept by the Dodgers and are 9-3 on the season since getting swept by LA. Obviously, that means they are 9-6 on the season. Want to make sure I got my math right there. Very simple math, but not my strong suit. They are first place in the American League Central still after Cleveland and Kansas City just had a weekend set against each other. Minnesota is now 5-11 after this weekend. 5-11. For the Minnesota Twins. You know, that starting rotation just got decimated, and there's talent there, but it was very thin to start off with, where they were only an injury or two away from kind of scraping the barrel, and that's where they found themselves this weekend, and that's why the Tigers were able to take advantage. I genuinely think that's the biggest reason why, is because you know, when the top of that rotation, you know, we miss Joe Ryan, right? Like Pablo Lopez is on the injured list. Like we miss the top end of their rotation, and what's left? It is few and far between, to put it nicely. And so I think that is something that the Tigers, the way that their roster is constructed, is going to have the advantage in. Like, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it really feels like in almost any series. And I guess we've already had at least one this year where that wasn't true in LA, but LA is kind of in a league of their own in terms of roster construction. So I guess that is fair to point out, but like, I would say most of the time, and that's the thing about having a beautiful 5-man rotation, full 5 top to bottom, like the Tigers have, is that I'm pretty confident that the Tigers are going to have the starting pitching advantage no matter where they are in the rotation, no matter how many games the series is, and regardless of whether Skubal is going to pitch in the series or not, kind of stacked up with anybody else in the American League, maybe in baseball. And the stuff will change, right? There are certainly a lot of pitchers that we think are going to be really good that are going to struggle this year. There's vice versa, right? Things change. An injury is inevitable to happen to this rotation, probably multiple. We will see how it stacks up over the course of 162. But right now, I feel really, really good going into every series. I mean, we'll talk about it at the end of the show when we preview Milwaukee. I think the Tigers have the pitching advantage in at least 2, if not pretty comfortably all 3 of those games. That's a beautiful place to be, and that is why I think they were able to take advantage this weekend. So that was kind of my first thought. I jumped the gun a little bit, but that was kind of my first thought of this series was, man, like even with the dropped game on Sunday, like that is a solid series win, a great kind of gritty, close game, comeback style effort. A lot of fight on Friday. just the dominant performance on Saturday. Sunday, if you are to point to, the loss and try to take something from it, I think it's just the fact that that is how we expect losses to look this year, right? Like this is a team that, as I have already drooled over for the first 5 minutes of this show, has really good pitching. We're well aware of that. I can stop kind of beating that drum. The offense is the question. And while the offense has been really solid so far this season, far above everybody's expectations, there is obviously still, okay, over a full season, are they going to be a top 10 offense in baseball? I think still my answer is probably not. But it's a matter of how consistent is that lineup going to be, and where are they going to settle in terms of offensive production. They'll come back down to earth a little bit, but that doesn't mean they have to like completely collapse either. Find a nice middle ground there, and I think this can be a really competitive baseball team. Continue to be, I should say, a really competitive baseball team going forward. Obviously, 9-6 they have been this year. We'll talk about what went right this weekend. Hard not to start with Jackson Jobe. Jackson Jobe goes 6 innings, 2 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, just 2 strikeouts. A lot of people were pointing to the lack of strikeouts, and who cares? it was a great outing, dude. I couldn't care less about his strikeout total. That was his first really. It's easily the best start of his career. It goes kind of without saying. That is the first really solid start we have seen from him, and hopefully it kickstarts a whole lot more. You just want any good outing from him. You want any solid, prolonged outing, and he pitched 6 innings of shutout baseball. Barely any hard contact against. And that's another reason why I didn't really care about the swing and miss. The swing and miss and the strikeouts will come. He's fine, guys. Like he is okay. He is totally fine. There's this large reaction from some people with Jackson Jobe where they see the lack of swing and miss and they get really, really I don't know, like they focus on it a lot, and like that is, he has such good stuff. I understand looking around and going, where the heck are the strikeouts and the swing and miss? He will get them, and he will get them at an incredible clip at some point. Okay, he is 3 starts into his Major League Baseball career. We're okay. Everything's okay. This is a great step to take. I talked about this a lot on last year's show consistently throughout the season. It's like you can be an effective pitcher in a lot of different ways. You can miss bats in a ridiculous way, right? Really dramatically miss bats where people look like Javi swinging, who's been fine this year. I shouldn't bash on Javi. You can get people to just barely miss bats, and every once in a while they'll make contact. You can get people to miss barrels and not bats, or you can throw BP, essentially, and just get people to barrel up your pitches no matter what. It is a nice step to see his stuff be used in a way that induces a lot of weak contact, and nothing was really driven in this ballgame. The other big thing, and the biggest thing that I should probably have focused on a lot more before I went on that tangent, is simply command. That is the biggest overarching theme this entire conversation and his entire career so far. He lacks pinpoint command, and that is obviously something he's going to have to work on and develop, and I'm sure that is something he wants to improve on every single time he takes the bump. But for right now, at his age, 3 starts into his career, I will gladly take not a ton of strikeouts, but no one can square him up because all of his pitches move 6 feet. Once he learns how to throw them for strikes a little bit more, once he learns how to effectively get people to chase, and part of that is just being able to keep them honest by throwing pitches for strikes. Once all of those things align, he will get the swing and miss. I do not understand the big reaction from that. This is just simply part of development. He will be okay. And I think the most impressive thing I saw in this outing specifically, to get way back on track here, is he made a ton of adjustments after his first time through the lineup. Really, the first inning in general, he was just all over the place, and it didn't even seem like he could throw a strike, period. If you would have told me after the first inning he was going to go 6 innings of shutout ball, I wouldn't have believed you. That's how different of a pitcher he looked like from, I'll say, the third inning on. I'll kind of throw out the first 2 innings in that regard. But he really made a lot of great adjustments. A lot with that slider, not the cutter slider, the sweeper slider. He's got a few different versions of those. But throwing that sweeper low, it almost has that Casey Mize low strike splitter effect, where it's like, okay, I have to respect an 100-mile-an-hour fastball at my knees. And then, the bottom just dropped out. It ends up being that sweeper. It bounces on home plate, and I look ridiculous. He was able to do that, especially the second time through the lineup. And I thought it was really effective. So he'll be okay. And this is a great step into him consistently putting outings like this together and getting a little bit more swing and miss in the bat. Okay. We are way over time, but how can you not just absolutely drool over what Jackson Jobe does on the mound? Let's talk about what else went right this weekend. We will do all of that right after this. Got to talk to you today about our friends over at Wonderful Pistachios. If you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days. Whether I'm snacking at my desk, I'm on a road trip, or just need a quick protein boost, they're always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite as well. So get snacking and get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2 of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, as always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. And we will, of course, be back tomorrow recapping Game 1 against the Milwaukee Brewers in Milwaukee. So we're still in Central Time. That's a 7:40 p.m. start. Let's talk about what else went right this weekend in Minnesota. We talked about Jackson Jobe. Spencer freaking Torkelson, baby. 2 home runs. More hits on top of that. Had a beautiful single on Friday that will go completely overlooked because of the home runs and whatnot. But just the speed that his hands are able to get to the ball are so much better than they have ever been. The mechanical changes we have seen are causing a night and day difference in his approach, and honestly, how he is able to approach. Like, there are times when he was so late on fastballs that he would really only hit them if he just guessed that it was a fastball. Now he is able to adjust mid-pitch, and my favorite at-bat of the weekend, as weird as it sounds, was a fly out to right field, because it was a sac fly, so I guess it's not a fly out in the scorebook. That's kind of a lie, but his sacrifice fly, what was that, Friday's game, I want to say? Either way, whenever it was, you know what I'm talking about. His sac fly the opposite way this weekend was the perfect example. Go watch that, just the swing. You don't even need to watch the whole at bat. Just that swing. He clearly is trying to time up a fastball. The way in the cadence and the timing of everything, and when his leg is moving and whatnot, he is very clearly trying to time up a fastball in the batter's box. He doesn't get one. He gets a loopy breaking ball low and away, plants his foot very early, timing wise, and is still able to not only hit the ball, period, but makes an in flight, right, in air adjustment to be able to drive the ball dang near to the warning track opposite field. All of that is just so impressive, and it was an RBI scoring a run there. I'm so impressed with him, and I believe in the changes. I believe in the adjustments he's made. I believe in this version of him. I don't think he's going to hit 360 with an 1100 OPS, but like I Fully expect him to be that middle of the lineup bat that they wanted this season that they didn't end up signing. It's just a matter of how high his ceiling really is. That is now the big question, right? We can put the past behind us. He's in my head at least. He's not that. He's not that barely 600 OPS hitter anymore. But now we have to ask, how good is he going to be over 162? And weekends like this make you really darn excited about the answer to that question. Dylan Dingler, really solid weekend, holding down the fort behind home plate, played 2 of 3 games, had a 3-hit day on Friday. I continue to be impressed with him. Zach McKinstry, man, I sung his praises on Friday's show, and I feel like I kind of have to do that every episode at this point until the dude calms down a little bit, takes a deep breath, and maybe takes a step back. He continues to put the ball in play. He has made adjustments where he's not swinging and missing, going chasing as much on the slow breaking balls that are in the dirt. He still does hit sometimes, but I'm not going to complain about the production he has provided this team so far this year. It's been absolutely fantastic. And honestly, like I genuinely think it's fair to say it's one of the biggest reasons why the Tigers find themselves at 9-6. Not like the sole reason. I'm not saying Zach McKinstry's the reason we're here by himself, but like lineup production from the 6 through 9 hitters is going to be key for the team this year. And Zach McKinstry has been incredible in that role so far this season. Kerry Carpenter getting hot. That's good to see. His hits have been big, but he hasn't been hitting consistently so far this season. So to see him have a nice weekend and get that under his belt, I think is a good sign. And I mean, on Sunday especially, he looked like he was seeing a beach ball up there. So good to see there. And then the bullpen, I want to sing the praises of the pen as a whole, man. This bullpen, I think, only gave up 2 or 3 runs all weekend. Don't quote me on that. But obviously the shutout on Saturday and on Friday, again, I continue to say this bullpen is so good at just keeping a score where it's at. Not letting a game get, okay, the Twins get an early lead in this game, or whoever our opponent is gets an early lead in this game, and then they're able to just kind of cause a blowout and let it just get away from you. The next thing you know, it's the 4th inning and it's an 8-0 game. No, you can punch this team in the mouth, maybe. I guess that's a bad example because that's the starting pitcher mostly. But like the point remains, the starting pitcher gets popped. They go to the bullpen earlier than they want to. This bullpen is able to keep that deficit where it is at, which is all you can ask for. And that is why this team, I think, is going to be playing in a lot of really competitive baseball games. Every single game they've played so far this whole season has been a competitive ball game that at some point could have gone either way. A lot of that is to do with the pen. A lot. Let's talk about what went wrong. Obviously, not a perfect weekend. Sunday, you want to talk about the closest thing to maybe being considered an uncompetitive game. That 5-1 loss, the offense was pretty asleep for. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Riley Greene, and then we will talk stuff. Okay, we'll do all of that right after this. Going to talk to you today about our friends over at Monarch Money. Have you ever checked your bank account and wondered where did all of my money go? Well, between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track, and that's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, spending, all in one place, so you can stop managing your money and genuinely start building your wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized how much I was spending on things I didn't need to be, like food delivery and such. And now I budget smarter and I save way more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Also, managing money with your partner has never been this smooth. You can now track your personal accounts, shared accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. So take control of your finances with monarchmoney.com. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONMLB for half off of your first year. All right, everybody, welcome back. Your third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. as always. Let's talk about what went wrong this weekend. Obviously, kind of goes without saying the offense on Sunday was really brutal. That's a pitcher that they just like Simeon Wood Richardson, no disrespect at all. Just given the outlook of the weekend and given who they have been able to put together competitive bats against so far this season, there's no excuse to not put together a much more competitive effort there. They were getting some runners on base at times as well, just couldn't really move anybody, couldn't get into a flow or a rhythm. It seemed like I didn't think the approach was terrible, really, but I don't know. I think that's something they're going to have to make adjustments on going forward. Is the sense of like, okay, they are really their goal is to make starting pitchers work and to tax them and to get them out of the game as soon as possible because they want to go toe to toe in a bullpen chess match with AJ because that's his specialty. So like that is something that they are actively trying to do. I before the weekend, maybe it's changed since they led baseball in like opponent pitches thrown in the first inning. So like that is clearly part of their game plan. And I feel like the counter to that is just be a little bit more aggressive and fill the zone a little bit more. So we'll see if they're able to kind of counterbalance that. And if that ends up being something that going forward, we have to keep an eye out for. But yeah, not a very competitive offensive performance, at least on Sunday. Part of that falls on the shoulders of one Riley Greene, who is in a brutal slump as it stands right now. Cody Stavenhagen of The Athletic put out a tweet, a post, whatever, on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And it really highlighted the streakiness of Riley Greene so far in his major league career. And that is something that he is that's part of his next step, right, in development. He is still so young, and I still believe in the player wholeheartedly, and I still think that he's going to be fine long term and is a building block for this team in the long haul. But one of the things that he needs to get better at this year is being much more consistent, because so far in his career, it has been, a couple of weeks of being one of the best hitters in the American League, and then a couple of weeks of being, completely a non-factor. And right now, he is going through it. I mean, he's getting like fastballs over the heart of the plate and just swinging through them. I mean, he's really struggling out there. He's like 1 for his last 24, 25 or something, with I think almost half of those, if not over half, are strikeouts. Like it is a staggering slump that he is in. Now, the flip side to that is like he is so good where even with that unbelievable slump he's going through, his offensive numbers on the year are still like they're not putrid, right? Like it's not like they're absolutely terrible. And honestly, before Sunday's game, they were still even like pretty solid, like in general. So obviously, again, something he has to work on, but 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts on Sunday. And that was kind of the story of the weekend. We'll talk a little bit more in depth on that throughout the week if it continues for sure. But Monday shows we got to get through a lot of information because we're recapping a whole weekend of games at once. Ryan Kreidler, I don't have too much else to say. Not a lot of whole like new information. The second that anybody's healthy, he's going to be sent down. I do wonder, at what point do you treat him like offensively like a like how the National League treated pitchers when they still hit, where it's just like, you know what? If there is a runner on base, I should say first and or second base, and there is less than 2 outs, you might just auto bunt him at some point. Like it'd be one thing if he was putting the ball in play and they're like somewhat competitive outs, or competitive, somewhat. What's the word I'm looking for? Oh my goodness, I don't want to read 80 comments about the word I'm thinking of. Productive. Gotcha. Beat you to it. Probably not. If they were productive outs, you could live with it even a little bit more, but I mean, they aren't. And there's a lot of strikeouts, completely uncompetitive. He's hitting 111 with a 283 OPS. That is not an OBP or even a slug. That is an OPS. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. I think, as we've talked about a lot over the last week, right when somebody that can play center field is healthy again, he's probably the odd man out there. Thought he was fine defensively over the weekend, which is about all they're asking out of him, though. Stuff. Let's talk stuff. Gleyber Torres back from the injured list. The biggest question I have going forward, we talked about the corresponding moves on, well, not officially. Brewer, the former Brewer, was sent down to make room for Gleyber. And we talked about that being the possibility in the likely scenario, is my point on Friday. The biggest question I have now that Gleyber is back is Colt Keith's usage. I think that, so he's not going to play second. That ship has sailed. I don't think you can put him at first. I think that's kind of Torkelson's now. I think that you might see a platoon with him and Malloy at DH until they get 2 outfielders back. Then they're going to have to make a decision on whether Colt Keith is their DH or Justin Henry Malloy is their DH. And that's going to be a fork in the road for this team. But until then, because the first outfielder that comes back, if they can play center field, is just going to replace Kreidler. So the second one, presumably Margot, when he comes back, that'll be where you kind of have to make a big decision there. But until then, that's kind of the vision that I have. Maybe I'm totally off base here. Maybe I'm wrong. But I kind of expect, like, okay, a lefty, we're going to have Malloy hit. And if it's a righty, we're going to have Keith be the DH. I don't know. We'll see. Solid weekend. AJ Hinch passes Brad Ausmus in the Tigers' all-time managerial win total standing. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. We can move on. I don't want to. That's nice. That's real nice. Another thing that I have to bring up is just how brutal the Apple TV broadcast is. So a lot of people are giving heat to the broadcasters themselves. I didn't have an issue with it. And I know a lot of people did. So, like, I'm not telling you that like I'm right and you're wrong and whatever. If you didn't like it, you didn't like it. That's fine. My biggest issue with Apple TV has been, aside from just availability of a Friday night game that everyone, here wants to watch, is the ridiculous stats they put up during the broadcast, dude. They are such crap. There's no way those are true. You will see somebody in a 1-0 count have, like, it'll say, oh, this, has a 36% chance of reaching base right now in a 2-0 count. And you're like, all right, cool. Or no, I don't know, a 1-0 count. Then next thing you know, it's 1-2, and somehow the odds have gone up. That can't be true. That you cannot convince me that, and like they never explain it. Like, the broadcasters literally never acknowledge the nonsense numbers in the corner. They're like, oh, here's his grounded to double play percentage with a man on second, nobody out. Like, here's his home run percentage, right? Like, we saw one of those last year where they gave Yordan Alvarez like a 2% chance to hit a home run in an at-bat. And it's like, okay, well, that feels low, maybe. I don't know. I'm not a math whiz, I guess. And then he hits one 975 feet. And you're like, all right, well, that thing looks stupid now. Like, I don't, who is that for? That is my question. Who are those numbers for? What type of fan is looking at those and going, wow, I am learning something. This is gaining me insight on the current situation on the field. I don't think it's anybody. And they can't be accurate. They have to be made up, dude. I say that half tongue in cheek, but like kind of not. Okay. Brewers, you're going to Milwaukee, 3-game set. You have Tarek Skubal versus Tyler Alexander today. You should probably win that one. Jack Flaherty against Quinn Priester. You're probably going to be favored in that one. And then Reese Olson against Jose Quintana. You might just be favored in that one. Maybe not. You're on the road. 3rd game of a series. Quintana has 1 start this year, and I think he threw like 7 shutouts. So respect to the veteran. The issue that I am having with this team is not an actual issue. It's actually a huge positive, but I'm calling it an issue to be dramatic. Is like, going into every series, I now look at the Tigers, the pitching matchups like we just did, and I go, well, we should take 2 of 3 at least. And it's like that there's way more nuance to it. There's way more questions offensively than that. But like, if you're just looking at pitching matchups, I think there is genuinely an argument, like I said at the beginning of the show, no matter what, the Tigers have the pitching advantage against most teams, no matter where either of them are in the rotation. And that's awesome because they have a really good bullpen too. So we'll see what happens. This is a Brewers team that has a couple of young players that I really like. I love Ortiz. He's a guy that I have had my eyes on since he was, back in Baltimore system in the minor leagues. Really good hitter. I really like him a lot. They just seem to be able to, like they don't pay anybody too terribly much outside of Yelich, who had a bounce back year last year. And yet they still are able to just find production from anybody. Another pitching factory for sure. So you're going to face some again, we just went through the rotation there. I think you're good, but you're going to face a lot of solid relievers, even with the guys they've lost. There's still a lot to like there. They went 0-3 to start the season and are now, I think, exactly 500. They might even be back over 500 now on the season. They are 8-8 after starting off 0-3, just like the Tigers. So, they've had a nice turnaround here. They are on a 2-game losing streak over the weekend, but have beat some pretty good teams, played some competitive ball. Again, I don't see how you don't go into this series and go, I think the Tigers should be expecting a victory, a series victory, that is. I really think that should be the bar here again. And like I say that, like my face is scrunched up and I kind of look like I'm in pain saying that. I'm just like waiting. We've been through so much. You know what I mean? Like as a fan base, we've been through so much and it feels so weird to be like, yeah, you just have the upper hand against, a lot of these teams now. And I don't want to get hurt again, but I am a believer. And so that's just a really exciting, but also kind of terrifying place to be. So let's go win a series. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We, of course, will be back tomorrow recapping game 1 against the Milwaukee Brewers. Tyler Alexander against Tarek Skubal. I think we should probably win that one. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope, and I will catch you all tomorrow. Go Tigers, baby.